joining us for this very special Thursday night episode with none other than Billy Hoekman of Green Juju, one of our favorite people on the planet, favorite humans on the planet, one of the smartest people, maybe the smartest person I know in real life.
I'm pretty sure I would be very curious to see your IQ.
Formulator, nutritionist, knows literally everything when it comes to pet nutrition. Billy is just the go-to. So thank you so much for joining us.
And outrageously humble while doing it all.
Correct.
So thank you everyone joining us tonight. And for anyone that has not already met Billy and know what he does, could you please share a short intro of who you are and what this live is a little bit about, how you're changing the world?
I don't even know how I'm supposed to beat that. That was a great intro. I could say it's hard to be humble when you're well, I will say that was the most professional, cool intro that I've ever been involved in. The minute thing with all the pictures and I was highly impressed. So
yeah, we're moving up in the world a little bit. We're getting a little bit better with
We've got people with special skills.
Yeah.
Apparently. So my name is Billy, as they mentioned. I'm the Vice President of Nutrition and Communication for Green Juju. I work hand in hand with Kelly Marion, who's the owner of Green Juju. And we try to bring really great, innovative products to the market. And that's kind of one really cool thing is we're one of the, few companies that doesn't have investors and things like that. And we just, so what that really boils down to is whatever me and Kelly think is cool at any given time we can make. And, we're always kind of doing stuff behind the scenes. So that's kind of, I guess who I am in a nutshell currently.
That is
always growing
simplified nutshell. I do think it's incredible. I've always loved your work ethic. I think that it's so funny to think about, the stuff that you actually bring to our companion animals, dogs and cats, the things that you create, the things that you help bring to us is so complex. So
and delicious
and healthy. And I think that it's, it's fun for us consumers to see kind of the final product, but there's so much that goes into that. And I'm just always impressed with every time we see you, every time we have a chance to catch up, your wheels are just going always at 1 million miles a minute.
Wheels turning.
There's always stuff. It's actually interesting because I put my pictures of my dog's food on Instagram occasionally. And there's always stuff that I don't put on there because it could potentially be a product, because I'm always working on stuff from behind the scenes. So yeah, it's always, that's kind of what we really try to do is we really try to invent new concepts of what can make dogs and cats healthier. Because I feel like one of the things that we get too far sort of bogged down in is this is what is healthy. And I'm always concerned with, well, what can we do that's better than that? Or what can we do that's in a different way that could be better than that? Because, we often say to ourselves, well, we need to get to the diet of a wolf or a wild cat or get back to this. Well, I think we could do better. And I think that science can take us there. And so, that's a nice segue to the food that we're going to talk about tonight, because I feel like we did something there that was very special in terms of, the ingredient panel and the makeup of the food itself, in a familiar form, in the freeze-dried form. I am feeding the pork, so that's the only one I have. I'm just gonna throw that out there currently on me, but that's my visual aid for this little video.
I love that. Okay, so this is the topic of the evening, and we're very excited about it. And guys, to be very honest with you, we had 2 minutes beforehand to even talk to Billy. So we are going to be learning with you guys more about this amazing new healthy and delicious recipe that now we as cat parents also have for our kitties. And so we didn't even have time to talk about it because we were talking about kids, babies and
my God, yeah, the amazing
cat hairs in the eye and
your Huckleberry. Before we toss it over to you and really dive into this new option for all of us, I know many of you guys are already familiar with Green Juju freeze-dried treats the ones that we use. We call it the kitty crack. We've got the bison, the beef, the salmon.
Most of you guys know that it's like our cat's crack, right? So like the Green Juju treats are always up in our cabinet, and we still sprinkle them over there, the food toppers for all of our cats, and they all like different ones. So we have them all, but they because our cats are picky and
options on their flavors.
Spoiled. But
so it's really exciting to know about the quality of products that you guys already create, and that our cats, which it's hard sometimes, our cats already really enjoy. It is really exciting to talk about what have you done now?
Yeah, because prior to this, it was all treats, correct?
Yeah. So prior to releasing freeze-dried food, we specialize in making every diet better. And which I think is something that is important, because there is no one diet that is right for not only every animal, but there is no one diet that's right for any animal, because every animal should be getting multiple things in their diet, treats and food, that you're eating, and raw milk and all those wonderful things. But when we were formulating this for dogs, I thought to myself, well, why don't we make a food that is both complete and balanced for dogs and cats?
Full stop. How is that possible?
Yeah, that's the biggest question, is like, how do you actually formulate something that is complete and balanced for both dogs and cats?
Well, so the first thing is, it's really interesting. So on the AAFCO, well, interesting for nerds like me. So I'm like, it's really interesting, AAFCO. And I feel like 50% of people are like, that's not interesting. But so AAFCO is actually much easier. It's actually easier. So if you were formulating, say, a frozen food or something like that, it's actually easier to make a cat food complete and balanced, because they have multiple nutrition profiles. Because I speculate that's because so many cats eat canned food that they wrote a specific, complete and balanced profile for both canned food and dry food. But on the dog side, it's just dry food. And so you have to actually formulate your food to meet that dry food requirement, even though it doesn't really make any sense, because you're using a completely different food form. And there's actually debate about whether or not those are even appropriate in terms of certain nutrients, mainly, certain minerals that basically, long story short, all those profiles were written with nutrients that contain foods that contain anti-nutrients, things like phytic acid that stop the digestion of certain minerals. And so they have you add a lot of minerals to that to make up for that. But then you'd ask the question, what if you're not using foods like grains, for example, that contain phytic acid? Then you wouldn't need as much of those things. But legally, you have to do X, Y, and Z. So, but that's on the dog side. So with the cat side, there's only a couple differences in terms of, and I think you'll see how this works when we get into the formulation. But in terms of the actual AAFCO profiles, there's only a few nutrients that are accounted for on the cat side that are not accounted for on the dog side. In terms of when you look at the actual nutrition profiles, biotin is one of them, and taurine is obviously one of them as well. I believe vitamin K is one of them right offhand. Not that those things aren't needed in food, but when you look at the actual AAFCO profiles. So I would actually say, quite honestly, this is I don't know. I think if you guys looked at the ingredient panel, you'd say this is more of a cat food.
I was gonna say that. You guys not say that. I'm like, I said the only way that I can actually.
She hates being right all the time.
I do. It's
I figure.
Exhausting. But I was like, the only thing that I think that he might say, as far as like how to balance, because everybody says, so we talk to tons of raw pet food companies, right? They usually start with the dog food, and then they're like, yeah, the cat food is a lot harder. It's a lot harder to balance. It's a lot harder. Everybody says the cat food is harder to balance than dog food. And then I was like, so, and they're not equal. They say you can't have one food that's balanced for dogs and cats. And I'm like, the only way that I think that you might be able to balance a food for cats and dogs is if you balance it for cats, because the nutrients are already there for dogs. So thank you for saying that.
Well, yeah, it's an interesting. That is very interesting. Obviously, we did it, so that's, one of those things that this is one of those cases where you can do that, and you know, I think the point of this is that we formulated this so differently compared to other products that, um, again, that just goes back to thinking outside the box. How do we do this better? Because I guess people get stuck in a particular paradigm, and that's honestly, if I would say, like, was one thing I bring to the table, is thinking differently about things. And I think that's just our company in general. Like, because me and Kelly do a lot. It's not just the nutrition part; it's marketing, it's all those different aspects of it, and staffing, all those things. And I feel like that's part of it. But it bled over into the food, which is and I would say too, the big reason we did this was because we thought of a good idea. We don't make products because we think we should, or because we think like, oh, we need a freeze dried food, so we'll just do like a cookie cutter food. We needed to have a reason to actually make it great. Kelly actually calls me her food designer. So she has like a packaging designer, and she says I'm her food designer. So this is kind of
I love
how
that.
we did it.
That's actually a really accurate description. I mean, I think that you've been such a pioneer in this field for so long.
Yeah.
I feel like you've always brought something new and truly transparent. I love how you uh, do things because it is making something better, that there is a way to improve something. It's not because it's going to be profitable. It's not
Right.
because it's going to be something easy to market. It's because it's going to be good.
A good idea.
And it's something that you would give your own babies, So I think I think it's what makes you a pioneer, and you're super geeky, nerdy, whatever you called it, brain is always looking for that good idea. And this is really a bit of a game changer. So can we dive in a little bit to the formulation? Like, I think I love that Judith said here, I harassed my local pet store until the pork pink was stocked. They made it happen as soon as possible. Yeah, what you do for our cats and dogs, we know it impacts their health and their happiness.
We've watched it in our home for years.
And yeah, we've seen it happen. So this is a very exciting moment to know that there's another option that you've created. So how did you go about the formulation? What was the eureka moment?
Well, ironically, because we're Green Juju and we're a plant company at our very base, we released a food with almost no plants in it. And so the first part of the formulation was, how do we make something? We also like to cater to the most sensitive dogs and cats, in terms of, like, if you can cater to the sensitive ones, you can cater to all of them, right? In regard to nutrition. So there's a couple things there. So firstly, from an ingredient or from an allergy perspective, our pork, beef, and bison is only 3 ingredients from an allergy perspective. And our rabbit with duck liver is only 4 ingredients. And these products themselves, so a good example of that would be the bison, for example, is bison heart, bison liver, bison kidney, bison bone, dandelion greens, kelp, and vitamin E as a preservative. And that's the entire ingredient panel. We wanted to get this as short as possible because people always say no fillers in the food. But what this food is, it's the most efficient use of calories that you can potentially make. And what I mean by efficiency in calories is, a good example of that would be, let me start here. Here's how we achieve that. So the first thing is we take out all or most of the muscle meat, and we replace that with heart. And heart has a much more nutrient dense profile. It's part of the reason that your cats love our treats so much, because we use a lot of heart in the treats as well. So you're getting, better vitamin profile, better mineral profile, double the collagen. It's great for like feeding like, because the heart of that cow, for example, is made up of the same things as the heart of your cat. And so those nutrients are going to be sort of directly applicable to that. And then we use more kidney and liver than, as far as I know, any other brand. And that's kind of like nature's multivitamin. And Dogs, I actually think dogs are easier than cats. I think it's totally reversed in terms of the formulation, because here's a good example of that. Um, Dogs can convert some beta carotene, for example, into vitamin A, right? So humans aren't that good at it. Dogs aren't that good at it, but they can use some of it. So if you were to put, like, say, a bunch of squash in a formulation, that would register as vitamin A on a nutrition test, but it's not vitamin A, it's beta carotene, and there's some conversion there. But cats don't convert that. They need vitamin A from animals. They need that retinol vitamin A. And so the cool thing is, when you're using, kidney and livers, especially liver, all of those vitamins are made in animal form. They're in the form that cats need 100% and that are way more efficient for dogs. And so you don't need to add all of those things. So basically, when we did the formulation, all we needed was to add a dark leafy green and kelp, namely for vitamin K1 and iodine. But obviously, those foods carry a fiber profile. They carry, phytonutrients, in that aspect of it. But that's pretty much it. It's the beauty of it is in its simplicity. And I was just thinking about, okay, my brain always goes to what are the most efficient foods that we could put into something. And that's what we did.
I love it. You've always been that way. You've
How-
always been like, what is the most efficient food for? You've always used food as medicine. You've always been this way. I love this so much, and I love that you
I love it.
formulated this so that our cats can have it too. Because it's just
It's rare to find
it is.
quality.
good healthy foods that are. I know they're growing a lot. Like Viva Raw just came out with something.
Yeah, for sure.
And, yeah,
Options out
it's
there.
growing, but this is and freeze dried, which is so much easier for the majority
For
of
a lot
cat
of people.
parents.
Yeah.
Is great. So tell me this: do you recommend that the freeze dried be hydrated? Is it like we haven't tried it yet? We haven't even tried the food yet.
How dare you?
I know.
Please
forgive us.
If I would have known that, I would have never done this interview.
I don't blame
Absolutely
you.
not.
I don't blame you, but please forgive us.
We have the treats every day.
We do use the treats every day, but we are very excited about trying this. And I can say we usually wouldn't do a live before we had tried it,
but it's
it's Green Juju, and I feel like this is something that's really exciting. And
look how beautiful the packaging is.
I love it.
I do love it.
And our babies love some pork.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's such an interesting thing, because I think it's just such a great place to expand in terms of what we're doing, because the freeze-dried market is so much bigger, I think, when it comes to cats than it does to dogs. Because I mean, with dogs, you're mostly talking about smaller dogs or using it as a topper and that kind of thing, because there's not a lot of 80-pound dogs that are on freeze-dried food comparative to smaller dogs. But cats, there are no 80-pound cats, so there might be, but so it's just an interesting and I will say this: I know you haven't tried it yet. I'm excited for you to try it, but as far as the palatability goes, this is the same palatability as the treats. I knew
that.
It's going to be wild. And what I love is that you can actually do that while keeping a limited ingredient profile that is beneficial for that, really truncating the things that are needed and the beneficial ingredients that are required into something so simple and delicious. It really is a game changer.
And I know a couple months ago or a month ago, or I don't know time anymore. But when we
have been a little bit under a large rock for a hot minute. Otherwise, we would have tried it before we came up.
When we were emailing back and forth, you were talking about getting the feeding guidelines down for cats.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing that's already done. So you have that. And is that on the packaging? How would one know exactly how much? And I'm guessing with this like nutrient rich, that cats probably don't need
as much
that much of it as they would say a kibble or a wet
even
food.
Even a canned food.
A canned food, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, freeze dry is definitely like condensed. And to answer your question earlier, we do actually, this is a really important point. We do recommend you rehydrate it. But here's the really cool thing is most freeze-dried foods break down pretty quickly when they're being rehydrated. And a lot of that has to do with vegetable content and certain things. So our food, what I do when I feed it to my dog is I rehydrate it for the next meal. So like when I fed him dinner, I'll put bone broth in it and then leave it overnight and then feed it to him. But it completely keeps its shape. So it absorbs all the water, but there's still the little, I don't know if you'll be able to see this on thing. There's still the little like treat size balls, right? So I've been told that cats like that better typically than like a mush type consistency. And so I think that can help a lot. So currently the packaging is labeled for dogs, but we have compiled the information for cats. And we also have the information. You can obviously find out, or you can obviously look and see how many calories it is per ounce and compare it to the cat food that you're feeding. But in the meantime, I am happy to help anyone if they would like to email Green Juju at info@Green Juju. I'll personally help you with how much food your cat needs, with the sizing, and also if they're on a food, I can look at that and help you in that regard as well, because we don't want to leave the cat people out in the dark.
This is another reason why we love you so much, is just your personal investment in
And always being
our
available.
babies. Yeah. This is a game changer. I see a couple comments coming in. I want to ask you questions since we have your enormous brain with us here this evening. Hope said, my dog is sensitive to kelp, but it is in so many foods. What is its benefit? And have you ever considered a replacement for it for those that are extra sensitive? I love that your products are limited ingredient.
Yeah. So kelp is, I mean, obviously, like anytime you use like a whole plant or food, it has many benefits, but the main reason is iodine. And so one of the things we really wanted to do with this was, there is like, when you make a freeze-dried food, there's an oxygen pack in it, and then you put vitamin E in it as a preservative. Now, it is worth mentioning, as far as I know, we are the only company that uses specific non-GMO vitamin E, and all the vitamin E you find as a preservative mixed to cough rolls is GMO. And so Kelly, the owner, specifically sought out non-GMO when she had an issue with her dog. And so that's one part of it. But we didn't want to use any synthetic vitamins. Formulation is actually really easy. If you use synthetic vitamins, you can almost just formulate whatever you want and then just add a vitamin pack to it. But that's obviously not what we want to do, and that's not our style. So I think if we didn't use the kelp, we would have had to use, synthetic iodine, which we didn't really want to do. So unfortunately, that is a hard allergy in terms of or sensitivity. Doesn't mean you're, always, doesn't mean we can't help you in other ways, but for those that are wondering too, it's not a ton. You don't have to have a ton of iodine. And also, when you look at the actual AAFCO, I don't want people to worry about, with hyperthyroid and too much iodine and that kind of stuff. We're not really in that range. So.
Yeah. There's also, I think, an ongoing or starting up at least debate of AAFCO guidelines saying that there's, in cat food specifically, the requirement for iodine is debatable.
I think everything is debatable. And here's the craziest thing that people don't really realize, that at the last AAFCO meeting, the mid-year meeting, because I was actually talking to Dr. Kathy Alanovi about this, because I go to the summer one, not both of them. There's only so much that one person can take, but
I didn't know the summer one. Incredible.
No, but there is some interesting stuff that happens, and there's a lab group there, and they talk about, lab work and testing and nutrients, and they were remarking that the margin of error in nutrient testing is 20 to 50%.
Oh, wow.
So we need to rely less on, there is no way to know whether or not X amount of nutrient is in your dog or cat's food. It's just impossible. And it changes, by the way. When we test our food, it's the exact same formula every time, and the numbers are different. And there's still that 20 to 50% margin. So that was something that I thought about when we were formulating this food. And I said to myself, you know, the only real way you can provide for your dog or cat is to give them as many whole foods as possible. That's what we do in our own diet. Nobody, you know, eats off of a spreadsheet in our own diet. And so that was another thing that went into this was I know that heart, liver, and kidney are the most nutrient dense foods on the planet outside of like raw milk and eggs. And so that's what we made it out of for that reason, because we want to have that insurance. But I want to sort of put people's minds at ease that like it's a little unnerving, but you just can't know exactly the nutrients that are in your pet's food, even if you make it at home, anything like that. But just keep in mind, as long as you're doing your best and, you know, feeding naturally, you're doing amazing. So
I love that you said right off the top, you were talking about being convinced that you can do stuff better. There's always room for improvement. And I think one of the ruts that so many of us pet parents fall into is like, oh my God, a great new food came out. This is all I'm going to feed forevermore. Right. Mm-hmm. And it really is the fact that knowledge, it's our whole motto, learn, share, and grow. There is always something new to learn. There's always going to be a new way that something can be implemented. There's always going to be something bigger or better that's coming up. And it shouldn't be overwhelming, but it is really exciting when you can see it in action. Right here tonight with Mr. Billy Hoekman, when you can kind of better understand, like, these are amazing options, and the motivation that goes into it isn't about hitting some markers on AAFCOs. It's about better understanding how nutrients work and how they translate into health for our babies, which brings up, when are these going to be available in stores? Hey, Laura Lee, the dedicated feline enthusiast. I believe they already are.
They already are. Yep, absolutely. So they've, it was actually interesting because I think that they've been out since, I don't know, maybe like 2 weeks after Global or something like that. But they were definitely more popular than we thought, but we are good to go on stock and that kind of thing. And I will say, on your point as well, I mean, this food has been doing amazingly for Huckleberry, but I feed many things alongside it. I am I'm a big person in melding like science and how we feed, but also with convenience. You know, I live a very busy life. I have a 2-year-old child and a young dog, and I'm, you know, trying to be as present as possible. But my favorite thing is feeding the dog and, you know, waking up early in the morning and drinking coffee and feeding the dog. But for instance, I add canned sardines to this. I add an egg yolk to this. I add, you know, all of these different things to the food. And I can tell you right now, when we are cooking, Huckleberry gets pieces of that while we're doing that, right? If there's raw meat, if there's veggies, he's a weird dog that will eat like just a straight up salad leaf. So he gets all sorts of stuff. And
yeah,
all of that. Yeah, exactly. And so like, and not to mention as well, when Maple is in her high chair eating her food, and she's now loves giving food to Huckleberry. That's like one of her favorite things. That's part of his diet as well. And luckily she eats very healthy, and, you know, he's not getting anything that's crazy, but that's just part of
no McDonald's French fries.
Double fried?
You know what's interesting about that? So we kind of consider ourselves to be like 90-10 eaters, like eat healthy most of the time, but you eat things you want to eat sometimes. So while her favorite current food, her favorite thing to drink is raw milk with raw cod liver oil in it.
What?
But
you're talking about Maple?
Yeah.
Maple is his 2-year-old daughter, for anyone wondering. Raw milk with cod liver. What have you done to this child?
She is my daughter, for sure. But we did get her a Happy Meal once, and she called it Happy Dinner, which was very cute. So,
so we second to the raw milk and cod liver oil.
I mean, her
with a toy.
Her first food was caviar, and she used to love liverwurst. We have just done a lot of traditional very brain healthy, very healthy foods, and she has always, since we introduced them, she loves them, and but she does love. She does. I don't want you people to think that she doesn't get anything fun. She does get, the people watching. She does love cookies, and she does love cake, and etc. So we're not all just, we're trying to expose her to everything. So
Make it a spreadsheet of that brain healthy weird food that you eat. I'll just try to start implementing it here and there because I definitely.
You would never.
I might try it
You
if I could
would
put it in
never.
a
I might,
piece
but
of cake.
you would never.
I might.
You gotta do the cod liver oil.
Oh, I can't.
Half
Oh,
a teaspoon a day. That's what I do. So
what?
half a teaspoon a day.
Just
That's
straight?
not bad.
Yeah. I can send you a really good brand. Then you and Maple can do it together. I mean,
it's so. Don't you taste it when you?
you know what's funny about that? I don't even like fish. I grew up in the Midwest, so I'm like, every fish I ate was like deep fried and beer battered and
Yep.
whatnot. But for me, I can do most supplements because it's just like health eating. Like dinner is usually like, oh, let's enjoy this. But like during the day is kind of like, I'm eating this for nutrition. And so I can just kind of like, I'm the supplement police in our house because I have to kind of force Emily to take everything. So.
Oh, I've given up on this one as far as I'm like, I would feel like I got these little, and I'm like, please take this.
Let's not get off track here.
There is one of those in every family. That's hilarious. There's always one person who does the supplements, who's able to keep in track, and then there's one person who just can't. That is I was just talking to Jeff and Krista from Pug and Hound. I don't know if you know this, but we hired Jeff.
Yes. So excited.
He literally just commented true story because I was just talking to them and Krista has to get Jeff has to force him to take his stuff. So I'm telling you, there's one in every family and one is not better than the other. We all come together.
Oh, whatever. Yep. What? I just want to know if because you're the healthy eater during the day, but then you like decide that you're going to enjoy dinner. Do you just have some magical ability in your brain to shut off your taste buds for 13 hours a day, or what? How does that work?
Well, it's not that it's bad stuff. So I'll just I eat a very nutrient dense breakfast. So I'll have a banana in the afternoon. I don't need lunch very much. But I have this very nerdy thing I call it special yogurt. And what I did was I
It sounds gross already. Yogurt.
So I initially cultured raw milk with yogurt cultures and I keep it below 104 degrees. So it's still raw generally. And what I do is I keep that culture going over time. And I've introduced other cultures to that mix. So there's about 3 other. So I live in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where there's a lot of amazing farms. And so I'll get raw yogurt from, say, this farm that has all the natural yeast and from that environment in that farm. And then I'll inoculate some of that into the batch. And I've been keeping this going for I believe it'll be a year in the fall. So I just keep this batch going over time. Every time I do it. And so I get this really diverse culture of, 3 different farms and cocoa I inoculated into it. And then the initial cultures. So I do that with 3 raw egg yolks every day. And then the cod liver oil and some supplements. And that's pretty much my breakfast. And then that gets me through the whole day. And then typically, and when I say at night, tonight we're eating salad, but it's more fun than drinking raw milk yogurt. So
I don't know if anyone here is with me tonight. I'm just realizing that where's the pizza? We're getting off track.
Pizza is Friday night, so don't worry, there is pizza.
Thank God. Thank God.
One day away.
Okay, I know we got a couple questions coming in. I don't know why we thought we could keep this to around 30 minutes tonight, but we have a couple questions coming in I want to get to, but I do want to say you did just say just now that you do 2 raw egg yolks.
3.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't. I was hoping it was just 2.
Easy. I even do it in hotels. like when I travel, and I always think that people think I'm weird because there's like eggshells, but nowhere to make eggs.
Yeah, I would imagine they're like, what the hell happened?
I aspire to
Did
do
he
this. Like,
hatch?
I actually want to
Did
do
he
this.
hatch a little? But my grandfather from Canada did this. He would crack, and I saw him with my own eyes crack 2 eggs in a glass, like a regular
Mhm.
drinking glass, and just. Okay,
Yeah, but
couple
he
questions.
was also like an alcoholic, and
Oh, he was not an alcoholic.
no,
Anything.
was he the smoker?
No, that's
Oh.
my other grandfather.
Oh,
Totally
sorry,
different.
never mind.
My dad's dad
Wrong
lived to be
grandfather.
I love how personal this interview is getting. This makes sense.
for 20
And
years.
I will say,
I don't know which grandfather I'm talking about.
I will say before we get this question, I'm super excited to see you guys in August too.
Oh my God, I
I'm
cannot
so
wait.
excited to see you too.
I
It's gonna be
cannot
so
wait.
much
I
fun.
can't wait for the Thursday night, just getting to hang out and
Yeah.
it is
Always one of the highlights of my year. So
Oh,
that
same
means the
here.
world to
It
us.
is the
Yeah,
highlight of our year.
it is. It feels like a family reunion. It really does. I cannot wait. Okay, so let's try to get through a couple of these questions.
If you rehydrate the meal before, like you do, is
Yeah.
it recommended to refrigerate it?
yeah, I would. And by the way, you can rehydrate it however you want. My recommended rehydration is a 2-to-1 ratio. So if you're doing 1 ounce of food, you would want. I do 2 ounces of liquid. I love rehydrating with bone broth because you're taking out the moisture from going to extremely cold temperatures when you're doing the freeze drying. And bone broth is like taking all of those nutrients from the bone. So it's like adding in very appropriate moisture because it's from the makeup of the animal as well. So like right now I'm doing our duck bone broth as a really great way to kind of like rehydrate this, but you can also use water. You can do it however you want. But that's kind of my method.
Awesome.
I like that. And you just put it like on a plate or in a bowl and cover it, put it in the fridge. How's your?
Yeah, in the bowl's fine. I usually do I have like a bunch of glass food containers and I just do it in there. So it's however you want to do it is fine.
I love it.
Okay.
Can it be crumbled? So I know with your treats, we use them as toppers, but Laura, the dedicated feline enthusiast, like, can it still be crumbled?
I use freeze-dried
in place of kibble for my kibble addicts.
Yeah, you can definitely crumble it if you want. It won't be as crumbly as like on the treat side. You know, the salmon and the duck are definitely more like crumbly.
Yeah.
But you can still crumble it. But I guess it's not as crumbly. But it also, I mean, even if you have a kibble addict, I mean, this shape shouldn't be that foreign to them. And I would rather have, I'd obviously rather have them rehydrate it. But if you need to start without rehydrating it and kind of like, you guys would know way more about getting cats.
I mean, if you think about it, if you're already feeding dry and you're able to give them something that's we coach people all the time on like, how about you just like, you can start by just switching to freeze dried, right? Like, so the cats mix it together at first. So, because so much kibble has those palatants and crap, Animal Digest sprayed on it.
Watch your language.
I said crap. That's not.
This is still family time.
Anyway,
Mabel could be sitting right there.
Maple's in bed. Don't worry. Remember, it's 8:40 where I am. So
that's right.
Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
Definitely bedtime for a 2-year-old. Okay. But yeah, we always say like you can switch over to a freeze dried food, and then you can start rehydrating it so that they can also get that moisture that their bodies need.
Our dear Mr. Milligan is here tonight. He asked earlier, what do you think of vitamin bacon and vitamin cheddar, which his freeloaders, which are his babies, eat. But he said, how would you say the rabbit and duck recipe blend with a current diet of Aruva in 3-ounce cans? Is this something that you can just like mix into a wet food to kind of help supplement with?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, I feel like in the raw industry, we discourage all other types of feeding for some reason, but there's so many like a good example. I just told you earlier, I will use like the wild caught sardine cans and take out the whole sardine because Huckleberry loves those things. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a great source of all the things I'm looking for and the omega-3 fatty acids. And it's definitely less processed than fish oil, even though it's cooked in this can. So I feel like we need to do less discouraging of that sort of thing. Like a diet that's made up of that and mixing in some of this, maybe for some texture, maybe for some like less processed nutrients. I think that would be really awesome to do together. So
I love that. And Linda asked earlier, she was like, why do so many cat foods have carrot in them? I'm thinking for the beta carotene, but her cat actually has a carrot allergy. I have never heard of a cat with a carrot allergy.
Well,
Why are so many carrots in cat foods?
well,
Because-
first of all, none of ours have carrots in them. We do have carrots in some of our treats, you know, on the color spectrum with the antioxidant side of things. I think it wouldn't necessarily be for the beta carotene, because beta carotene is a great antioxidant, and we are finding out that cats, you know, we're finding out more and more that cats do use, you know, they're not going to use plants in the same way, but that they're using antioxidants from those plants. Like, so when you're feeding the salmon blue or the bison green, they are going to get the antioxidant content. I'm guessing it's more to cut on cost than it is to actually do anything else.
Yep. Agreed.
So, and I would say that's probably true in the dog side of things as well. But it just depends, I guess. So.
Can I just say, I'm gonna throw you in with Zach and Jen with Viva Raw for a minute, just because I feel like it is so refreshing to hear someone who has created something awesome for our companion animals be transparent about their own brand and about how they feed their own pets. And I just think it's so refreshing. Like you just said a minute ago about we need to be less discouraging of all this. It really is the end result are happy, healthy, long-lived babies.
Mhm.
You know, these beautiful companions that we
And
bring
that's
into our
all we
lives.
want, right?
And I love that you always keep that front and center. It just gives me all the little butterflies.
They're
Okay,
great,
so
by the way. The Viva Raw folks whenever I go down to visit Judy Morgan, they live in the area. And so one of the times they came over and we got to hang out on the farm and just get to, you know, and I just saw them up in Albany at the Healthy Pet Expo too. But yeah, they're really nice people.
Yeah, they're really
it's,
cool
it's
people.
really
we really
exciting.
like them. We really like
I
them.
always admire, you know, we've been in this, Jay's been in pet nutrition for 18 plus years now. And it's like, it's really incredible when you start seeing so many more resources available and that kind of energy of
and the collaboration
over
and
competition. It's
like,
a beautiful thing.
It's becoming, to me, and I don't know what other people are, but for me, it just seems, for us, it just seems like it's such a beautiful, it's just such a
shared
beautiful
intention
to be in.
And it's a beautiful thing to actually see live.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing that I've always seen you hold front and center. So
Yes.
I just have so much.
Okay,
love for
Billy,
you.
let's,
Hold
because
on.
we need to wrap up soon. So let's,
I don't want
to. I know, I don't either, but we need other people to be able to come back and watch it and get all the information. So tell us where's the best
flavors?
places and what are the easiest places to find this food for our kitties?
And all the available flavors.
Okay. So first of all, I also want to say I'm sorry for this box here. I didn't realize this. You guys have a way cooler background than me. I do have the map, but I didn't realize this box was in here. So
it says mess.
Just push it out.
Like, this is my mess.
Like you didn't see anything.
It'll totally fall off there if it does, but so anyway.
It does.
It's like a Montessori kids box, but so, well, everything's education apparently, but so we have bison, beef, pork, and then rabbit with duck liver. And it's really great because all those are single protein, limited ingredient diets. Obviously the rabbit with duck liver has 2 proteins, but aside from that, but also the pork is cooling, the rabbit with duck liver is cooling, and then the bison and beef are neutral. And I do want to add one more thing that is really cool about the food. So we don't have like fish oil in it or anything like that. Now that's something you can add whatever brand you prefer. If you'd like to do that, you can do that, but it adds a level of transparency to the food. And what I mean by that is, if you're formulating food just generally, you could, let's say you use meat that's not that great and it's going to be higher in omega-6 fatty acids, then you can put fish oil in and make that a better ratio, an appropriate ratio. So since we don't have anything like that, you can tell that all of our meats are raised correctly, humanely, and that they're eating what they're supposed to. A good example of that would be our beef and our is 4-1 and our bison is 3-1. Those are grass-fed ratios. And we did the fatty acid testing. So you don't have to take our word for it. You can look at the data and say, oh, this is that. And our pork is 8-1 and our rabbit with duck liver is 7-1. Now, there's debate on this, but you want to be anywhere from 8-1 and lower. And so we also have, if anyone wants to email us, I have calculated out the information for if, let's say, you want to use our pork, but you'd like a lower ratio, how much omega-3 to add per ounce. I have done that. So if people would like to do that, they can. That was actually really fun. But so it's available in all of those, and it's available at local independent retailers across the country and in Canada. And it is, it's always really important for me to mention that supporting your local retailers is an absolutely incredible thing to do. And, I think that the small independent shops are thriving because they give you so much more than your average retail place. It's not like going to buy shoes. Your dog loves going there. You become friends with the people. They're invested in you and your animal themselves. They vet the products before they go into there. And so we're sold at I think like, I don't know, 2,500 stores across the country or something.
Oh, that's amazing.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay. So,
Thank you, Sissy, for dropping the link.
So a note to us as cat parents, and then I have something to ask you, Billy. But note to us as cat parents: shop local. If you don't find this locally, then ask for it. If you go to, and I'm not saying go to PetSmart and ask for it because they're not going to source it for you. But if you go to your local independent pet boutique or store, then you will, then they will have a distributor that likely does or will make it possible for you. And that's what we have done in even the trees, yes. Right? So that's what we have done until they run out, and then we go online. So my next question is, because Billy, when it comes to these stores, whether it's Petco and PetSmart or whether it's the local, when it comes to cats specifically, there's smaller amounts available to us cat parents, and my hypothesis is that that's because cat parents prefer to stay at home and shop online. Is there an option for buying the food online?
Yes. So I think if you go to Judy Morgan has it available, that would be a good. Great. That's the one that comes to mind right off the bat. Okay. Which I think that's kind of a nice melding, because I think Judy's done so much for independent stores. I'm speaking with her at a lot of events sponsored by independent stores, and so I think we can. I think what's that?
You're on tour. Yes.
Yeah, I'm doing like 4 or 5 things with her throughout the year, which is always my pleasure, because her and Hugh and Gwen and the whole crew over there. Gwen had a lot of fun at your party last year. Hopefully she sees this. But so that is one place that I know it's available, especially if you just don't have access to a store. There are people who don't have. We're sold across the country, but there are people who don't have access to stores, and we don't want them to be. We don't want them to be out of luck. So that would be the first place I would try to look.
I love that you guys, for anyone that missed it, Green Juju is also available in Canada. That is huge.
That's huge.
That is really, really big.
It's hard.
Mr. Milligan said, looks like there's a ton of great info on Green Juju's YouTube channel as well.
What?
Shout out.
All right. Yes. Stepping up the YouTube game. I like that.
And thank you to Sissy, who's here moderating for us this evening. She left the email for info@greenjuju.com in the comments as well.
If you guys have questions.
Because I'm going to be emailing you for that breakdown on the best ratios that you've worked out in some super brain spreadsheet somewhere.
Getting the testing back is always really fun. It's just I'll never the fact that I get to make products like this, and then they feed people's animals and the people, and they're available everywhere, is just it's a dream, and I feel lucky every day to be able to do it. And so like it never becomes old to me, you know, when me and Kelly made this and it was in the stores, we, you know, were texting each other pictures and that kind of stuff, because it's just, I think it's cool. So
Yeah,
I
it's
cannot wait.
amazing.
I'm going to give you the longest, most even. I'm going to give you a hug, totally normal, and then I'm going to hold you there
for
another
so
like
long
7
that
to
you
10
start feeling awkward.
7
and
to
you're
10
like
minutes.
shouting, Jay, just Jay,
I'm gonna
help.
I'll just slide out the bottom. It's fine. Don't even worry about it. I'll just awkwardly. It's all good.
Billy,
And I will say too, for those of you guys that like Green Juju in general, we're always working on stuff behind the scenes. Like we're always developing new products, and I think me and Kelly really enjoy that. So there's really cool stuff coming too. So
where's the best place to follow you for people that really want to stay up on what's happening? Any little hints that you guys are dropping? Any kind of
just really our social media. I mean, we do have our YouTube channel, which does have lives on it, has some training information, that kind of stuff. We're opening up a new training portal for retailers, which, you know, so if there's retailers watching this, that will be, and there's some training modules there, and you get some free stuff if you complete them, that kind of thing. But for the people who are not store employees, really just our social media. We always do, when we have new products announcements and stuff, me and Kelly always do a live video to display it and show you how excited we are. So I don't want to give anything away, but there could be some stuff in the relative near future that people will get excited about.
Just possibly
I'm not going to
something
say what it
coming
might be,
up,
but
maybe just possibly something.
It's crazy because like it's always like, it's actually really hard. I do a good job of it, but it's really hard for me not to talk about these things. But you know, my dog, it might be that my dog is, when something comes out, say, okay, a good example of this, we have a product called Bam Speeds and Lewis Fermented Golden Paste, and they're fermented products that are really just amazing. And I was using them for so long before they actually came out, and couldn't tell anyone about it. So it's always a joyous day when I can actually get out there and start telling
did
people.
you ever slip up and be like, Bam's boom? The bam boom. Like
you know, there was, with that, I posted a picture like like 6 months or before that was out, and I said like fermented vegetables or something like that, and I was like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And then actually with this food, so we actually had like 57 dogs on this for like a month before, at least a month before we put it out. And obviously my dog was on it, and I couldn't take any food pictures of his because it was just part of it. And I think some people picked up on that. They were like, oh, we've noticed you weren't posting anything. It's like, because I was doing kind of like a feeding trial on it, and I just couldn't post anything. So
there are people in your audience that are onto you. They are onto the fact that you are always thinking of something. So it's like, zoom in on every picture.
That also begs the question. I'm guessing that there probably hasn't been, and if not, do you want a feeding trial for cats? Like, are we gonna go about? Have you already had like
I think they probably, it's already out.
Well, I know, but I mean, as far as like how they take to it.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Well, we might have to set something up. If only I knew 2 crazy cat ladies who had multiple cats who could set up something like that in a similar fashion. We might have to talk about that.
I'm just saying.
Not before we go to our local healthy pet boutique, Marilyn. Never be embarrassed to ask for more. You get Green Juju in your local store, local farm store. Not before we go to our local healthy pet boutique and say, hey, I know you've already got the Green Juju treats in here, but where's the freeze-dried food?
Yeah,
let's go.
That would be good. That would help to pay for my daughter's Montessori school. So thank you so much.
Let's do that. And then we'll let you know how we have, 5 cats of various finickiness levels.
Yep. And it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
To do a little trial. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's email about that and
We'll
make
have your
that happen.
people call our people all
Wait,
about.
I'd love to be behind the scenes with you. Let's do that. Oh my goodness. Okay, love the golden.
Okay,
paste.
anything that we missed. This is a really exciting. Yeah, the golden paste. It's a really exciting
Is it in
announcement.
Hawaii?
Ooh.
Yeah, it should be. The only thing that is not in Hawaii of our products for the stores that carry us is the our milk, because much like your wonderful state, there's a couple states that don't allow raw milk, and but the food should be there. It's the same distributor that distributes to California and Nevada, so if you don't have it in Hawaii, they can definitely get it for you.
Yeah, and so just ask, like Marilyn says. Just ask. and
Never
you
be
can-
embarrassed to ask.
Never be embarrassed. Just
For
ask.
more, Marilyn.
Yep.
Ask for more. It's Green Juju. Did we miss anything? This is such an exciting announcement. I cannot wait for our babies to try this food. I'm looking forward to doing all the different ways.
It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, using it as crumbles, like Laura Lee was saying, being able to crumble it.
We'll do it all. We'll do the
Use it full
rehydrating.
meal.
We'll do the
Did we miss anything in the midst of all of our crazy personal conversations along the way?
I don't think so. Just hopefully, I'm really excited about this because I've done frozen cat food before, but this is really my first foray into freeze drying. And, one of the reasons I wanted to work with Green Juju was I thought we could reach a larger audience, with freeze dried products and that kind of. Kelly had already been doing so many amazing things before I got there. And so, this is kind of a nice jumping off point that I'm excited that we can start to work with more cats. And
it's also, I just want to say, I'm not going to say brand names, but it's also very exciting to us personally, because I just got an email today that one of the freeze dried foods that we do give our cats is discontinuing. And the other freeze dried food, or one of the other freeze dried foods that we also give to our cats, just decided to triple their price.
So we know a lot of cat parents are dealing with the same struggles.
Yeah. So this is very exciting for us and our kitties.
This will be good. And I will say too, obviously the pork and the beef are the more affordable of the two. And then we have obviously the rabbit with duck liver and the bison as the more novel proteins, but there's a nice scale there for whatever your level you want to put into it monetarily, or whatever your cat needs in terms of like.
So when we have our freeze dried food, it doesn't need to be refrigerated, correct? Like in the bag. How long, what is your feeling on once you open up a bag of freeze dried food? How long is it delicious?
I mean, just for me personally, I'm using it. I mean, it's going to be fine. If you look at it almost like if you look at, okay, this is unopened. This one is 11/11/24. Freeze dried food lasts a long time, even when it's open, but I'm using it within 6 months.
Oh, that's awesome. Way better than kibbles. Way better than kibble once you open it. I just have to say that.
Yeah, for sure. And keep it tightly sealed. And, there's an oxygen pack in there. And like I said, there's the vitamin E. It does need those things to be preserved correctly. But I mean, most people aren't going to have it that long. So,
absolutely not, because it's that delicious, first and foremost.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good to know. I've thought about asking you that so many times, just randomly, and what a great opportunity, especially with this, way before this. How long do you think freeze dried food is good for? Because and it seems like with our babies, it's like you try something and it's like
different brands.
After a while,
different
they're
brands.
This is not exciting.
It seems like they don't like it unless it's freshly opened, and then it starts to at the end of the bag, we end up throwing it away. Versus
cats are so wild in that way. They're just so particular. It is just such a different thing than dogs. It's just crazy. But no, I think that if you are seeing, well, here's a good example. If your cats like the treats at the bottom of the bag, they will like this food at the bottom of the bag, because the formulation is similar enough to I think that I think they're gonna love it. I guess we'll see, but I think they're gonna love it. So
we'll take some videos.
Yeah,
I will be very shocked if we have any babies that turn their nose up
to Green Juju.
Yeah, because
It's
every
just been
flavor
such a staple.
yeah.
in the raw foods that we feed, like we switch up proteins all the time. And so sometimes, and we get very novel proteins, and sometimes it's,
They're like,
kind of exotic proteins.
like a kangaroo.
And like kangaroo or camel or something like that. And they're like, what is this? And it's like, oh, let me
Green
put some
Juju
Green
magic.
Juju on top. And they're like, okay.
Delicious.
That's
Yeah.
great. Well, now you'll have a food that's exactly the same, palatability. And it's funny because it's true on the dog side too. Like we see all the time, like, oh, my dog won't eat any treats, and then they'll eat these, and that's how the store sells them. We encourage stores to open up a bag and have dogs try them, and I guess it's the quality. I think it's obviously we're second to none in terms of the quality of the actual ingredients, but I really think it's the organ meat. I think that it goes beyond taste. It's kind of like
Instinct.
it's the same thing with raw milk. Like dogs and cats' bodies just they feel so good on it. I feel like that it's sort of intuitive, and I feel like the organ meat goes back to their nature. It goes back to like this is the most nutrient dense part of the animal, and I'm going to eat this specifically. So
Yeah, I'm
so
excited.
exciting.
All right, do we have a link in the description? for
No,
Green Juju?
but Sissy has dropped the link,
There it
or
is.
we have dropped the link a couple times here. We'll pin it to the top.
Yep.
And so to check out Green Juju's social media, go follow them.
And a
Shop
reminder,
local.
as Billy said so eloquently, you guys, this food is available in over 2,500 stores in the United States and Canada. Please go support your local healthy pet stores. I love what you said. It really is true. They care. They vet the products that come into their stores. They're a wealth of knowledge. Krista and Jeff over at Pug and Hound. What a great example of how much passion and attention they put into every item in their store. And I think ideally there's a store like that near you as well.
Yeah.
And just go make sure that they're carrying Green Juju.
Juju.
Also,
Do you guys have a store locator on your website? That's a good
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we
awesome.
do. Yep.
So
And we do a pretty good job of having like what products are actually available. Now, sometimes obviously we don't get all the information, but
it's
so-
hard.
that's hard to keep up
Okay.
with.
So awesome. So you guys can go to greenjuju.com and you can check out the store locator to see a store near you. And if not, go find that store, those local stores, and ask them. And if you have no healthy pet stores near you, you can go to drjudymorgan.com and
And
pick
she
up
also
your cat
carries-
food.
Billy, it's less than 2 months before I get to give you a 7 to 10 minute hug. In the meantime, please give your love to Maple and Huckleberry and Emily. And thank you so much for your time tonight and your
Yes.
brain and everything that you do for this beautiful pet community. It is very exciting and very appreciated.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I will see you guys soon.
Yes.
It's coming.
Mwah. We love you.
All right.
Guys.
Thank you.